morning, everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, this is the Wednesday wrap-up. I'm here with my guys, Mr. Yu and Herb. How's it going, gentlemen?
Awesome, man. It's Wednesday morning. We're talking sports.
You know it.
All kind of sports.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's always the best way to start the morning. So I'm good.
Absolutely.
I'm good.
Get your blood flowing.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we got to light this thing off with this Ohtani contract, $700 million. That is the Powerball win craziness. But I think it's the layout of the contract that is the weirdest thing yet.
Yep.
He gets $2 million a year and defers $680 million of it until basically he's not going to be playing anymore.
Right. What is that? A Bobby Bonilla contract or whatever?
That's exactly what it's going to turn into.
I mean, yeah, but wow, $680 million for basically when your career is going to be done. Because I mean, that's 10 years. First, I don't see the huge value in it anyway, right? We don't know if he's going to ever pitch again. And even if he does, it's probably going to be like 3 years of it.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of money for a DH.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of like what they did with Albert Pujols and sign him to a big deal? And then it was like the last years of it was just really, really bad for him out there. So it feels like that's the kind of situation. But like I said, I ain't mad at him. I mean, he needs a couple of people to hang out with. Like, I'm most certainly available. And then I think the deferred, I've read anywhere from like 30 all the way up to 60 million a year. He's getting an endorsement. So he's probably just, not worried about any of this.
Yeah, I heard 40, but it's still a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can defer some of your 70 million if you already have.
Yeah.
I think the number I saw was 44 mil in endorsements. So, and then you're just gonna, I guess, kick on another couple 2 mil, no big deal for your contract. But I mean, yeah, I can see how you could almost play for free, and then once your career is done, you're gonna be getting what was it? It was like
68 million. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's nuts.
They're going to defer.
Yes.
They're going to defer $680 million of this money.
Yes.
That's crazy to me.
That
It
is
makes sense for the Dodgers because they want to still keep spending so they can compete.
Yep.
Very benevolent of Ohtani to suggest that.
That part makes sense.
Yeah. But so you can continue to build around the team.
2034 to 2043. That's the part I'm like, wow. 9 years of how much?
Yeah, you're going to be irrelevant. I mean, the only thing that you can
be playing.
The only thing you can hope for if you're the Dodgers in that scenario is that the spending value goes up so much by then that eating 40 million or 60 million doesn't matter, right? Mm-hmm. It's the only way that makes sense, because otherwise you are going to be horrendously bad for a decade.
Yeah.
And not even have a player that's going to put people in the stands. Right. So unless you get a ring and your plan is to sell and you're just going to shaft the next owner, that's the only way this makes sense to me.
Well, as long as robots are not taking over on the field and robots are not playing baseball, I think there's a chance that this could turn out okay as far as the whole baseball thing is concerned. But as far as he's concerned, I mean, he's not pitching the whole next year because his elbow surgery. So it's like you're already taking a break.
Yep.
And I'm talking about 9 years of $60 million a year. I mean, it's like that's the ultimate retirement plan.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, if he need a friend, I would love to hang out with him just because this imagine having so much that they don't give you the $2 million check you probably won't even notice because of everything else that's going on.
Oh, for sure.
And he's moving to a market, I guess, where he's going to get more in endorsements, so that number could go up. But yeah, I'm like, I look at it with your first point. The last 2-3 years, 5 years of this contract are going to look bad. And I also was reading, I guess, more about the deferral part. Starting in 2 years, they have to start this side $46 million. So they have to show that they have the money to pay the deferral when it comes to the end. So that's the only thing. But again, it doesn't count towards any of the tax, their luxury tax or whatever, that kind of stuff. So like from a baseball move, yeah, it's great. And if you put that money away, let interest grow on it and pay him off later, whatever, I guess, it's a great baseball move either way.
Those last 9 years, man, he's not going to be playing.
Well, that's the thing is it's like, yeah, it makes a ton of sense for the next decade. It makes absolutely no sense for the decade after.
Yeah. He's not going to be playing in 2034.
No, definitely not.
He's not going to be playing.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure he makes
Where's this money coming from?
Yeah, I agree with you, Bo. I don't know that. Yeah, that
I don't think he makes the whole contract.
Yeah.
Where's this money coming from?
Oh, they just got a printing press downstairs. That's really what it is.
I mean, we're all taking imaginary money anyway. So they got TV deals and endorsement deals out there. So they're going to be fine. But yeah, you look at the numbers, it's just staggering. And like you said, for a player who you don't know what value you're getting out of him. So I don't know. It's like somebody broke a toy and then sold it to you and you bought it and you're like, I hope I can fix it. So
right?
You look at the guy.
But you paid
number
more
2 underneath him is Bryce Harper.
But you paid more than new on it,
yes.
right? Like, it's not like you bought a broken toy and you're like, it's a discount, so I could probably fix it and save some money. No, this is what, this thing is broken, and I'm going to give you twice what it is new at the store.
And your other guys looking like, really? Oh yeah, here you go.
Like, sweet.
The money is staggering, man. If you look at Bryce Harper, he's number 2 in this list of big payouts, and we were going crazy for his $423 million. We were going crazy about that one. Look, we in the $700 million realm. I never thought we'd get here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you read that like the Giants made a similar offer to him, is what they're out there saying. So he really had it wasn't just taking the most money, it was actually had a choice of suitors. Like that's even crazier to me that more than one person was wanting to give him this money.
That is crazy to me. I mean, my dad lived in that area, so I kind of was a little familiar with San Fran area. I don't know where that money's coming from either. Even often, I'm like, wow, they're not doing that great.
Right.
But it just is. Who's next now? Who comes after this? I'm like, who's gonna want $850 million? Who's next? I'm like, this is crazy. We're going to another stratosphere with baseball.
Well, for sure. Well, and of course, if you think about it, like if the game translated directly to today, that would make Babe Ruth a $1 billion player.
Yeah.
Right? Like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Somebody's going to want a $1 billion contract. Do you get that?
Well, and in baseball, it's guaranteed.
My head can't take that. Who's somebody going to want a $1 billion contract? Who's going to?
That is amazing.
And then imagine this: the $1 billion contract with all of it deferred, and that person making
right
$2
here wants that $1 billion contract.
I know you want that. I think we all wouldn't mind that, but
I think I could make the numbers bump together.
What are you doing to get that? What,
I mean,
on the field, what are you doing to get $1 billion? What are you?
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, from a baseball standpoint, what do you have to do?
Yeah.
How good do you have to hit and pitch to get $1 billion?
I want you hitting, pitching. I want you selling snacks between innings. Running the play-by-play, the pregame, the postgame. Like
you're probably driving the team bus.
Yes,
and
you pay for the team bus too. So yes,
you out there building schools. You better be doing something else besides just hitting for $1 billion.
Yeah.
Speaking personally, if one of you guys does get it, if I can just get your $2 million a year part, I will be happy. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going into a whole different stratosphere. This is incredible.
And then what if they don't win a championship in the next 10 years?
Well, then it looks like it looks like any other sports move, right? It's only dumb if it doesn't work. So that would fall in that range, right? I mean, that would be the same as when you watch the Rams, right? They win their ring, but if they didn't, everything they did seems dumb, right? Because we watched the Saints do the same thing. They didn't get a ring. And you're like, wow, you guys really messed your team up. Yeah. So, I mean, if they win a ring, then it looks like a smart move.
Right.
If they don't, you're looking at that latter 10 years of you didn't win in this era, you're definitely not winning in the next.
I'm trying to see how much spending they're going to be able to do. I mean, even though he deferred $680 million, right? How much spending can they actually do still? I mean, I'm not in their book, so I can't tell, but it can't be unlimited.
I mean, baseball's funny that way, though. They can kind of do what they want.
Yeah.
Like baseball would actually be helped out a ton with a real salary cap.
Right.
Like it would
be got a $48 million luxury tax right now, though.
Yeah, but they don't care. Like ownership doesn't care about that stuff. Look at what look at what the Warriors did. They paid the luxury tax every year to get the 4 rings they had. Like they overspent but it worked, right? They got rings. So
sitting back here. I don't know for sure. I'm just sitting back here. I don't think this is going to work.
Well, that's why I like the cap in football, right? Like it's a hard cap, sort of. Right?
That next part of that contract is coming though, man, and you know it's
they
coming.
kind of do some creative accounting, and sometimes they can move some stuff around. But like you're in the same area
as everybody else.
As everybody else. Baseball is this joke of a spending spree. Like some teams are going to spend money, some aren't. There's nothing that kind of brings anybody to the mean, which is why you see teams like the A's that are never good because they just don't want to spend money. And then, you look at teams that spend a ton of money and, usually it works out fairly well. Sometimes you have a high payroll and you still suck. It happens. But generally, if you pay for better players, you get better play. That's usually how it works.
When is it like when the Marlins won both their 2 titles, like immediately after each title, they tore the team down because they're like, we don't want to pay for any of this and we don't care if we win again next year. And they somehow built into another one. They said that was great, but we're still done writing checks anyway.
And fans smell that and they stop showing up.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's hard to be in Miami playing baseball anyway because Miami had a lot of let's say distractions. So it's really hard to go to a game. We're doing so many other distracting things. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do the team like that. I'm glad they didn't show up. It was a good message for the Marlins franchise.
Yeah. And somewhere in the front office, somebody's going, I wonder why attendance has dropped. We just won a title. Yeah, but all those people are gone. It's terrible now.
I don't know how we got here so quick though. I didn't think baseball would surpass football with how fast you get to these contracts. I saw the Bryce Harper thing, but Patrick Mahomes is at the top of the food chain with the quarterback contract. I think he was like $450 million. I think. Yeah.
It was 500. Yeah.
Was that?
Yeah, it was 500 million.
So,
but they
only halfway away from where they could be heading to. I mean, $1 billion contract. It's like my mind can't even fathom this, man. It's way too big for me. I'm like, really? For doing what?
Yeah.
$1 billion for doing what? Getting hit? I don't understand. So
that's the other thing. Baseball is like the most individual of the team sports. So it's like, if you're a great hitter in $1 billion, you can work around that guy. Pitcher, you're coming out every 4 or 5 days. It's like your impact is not going to be the day-to-day impact that you might see in other sports. So for $1 billion or $700 million, I'm like you guys said, what are you getting? And then I guess to even clarify my earlier question, over a 10-year span, how many titles do you have to win, or even World Series appearances do you have to get to label the contract a success? Now, for Ohtani, it's a success. I mean, hey man, you're great. But from the team perspective, how many do you have to win? How many postseason? Like, if you miss the postseason once in 10 years, is that not are you not asking for your money back? I mean, isn't that crazy?
I don't think this is going to work, man, because there's no way his whole 10-year contract they're going to be in a postseason and go to a World Series. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
I think it's too good. So it's like you're not going to do that. So, like you said, how you label it a success? What has to happen? 2 World Series during that time? What's going to happen? I mean,
right?
Yeah. No, I mean, you definitely have to be. You have to be in the championship game pretty consistently to make that make sense. But I mean, when you look at just players in general, right? It's like, okay, say he comes back. He's not going to pitch this year, but say he can come back and pitch, right? He's there for 10 years. So now 9, right? So now
this is elbow, man.
Just body mechanics, right? Like you're going to maybe say it's on the long end, right? He pitches for another 2 or 3 years as a starter and maybe 2 more as a reliever, right? Okay. So you're getting 5 out of 10 of a pitcher, and then you're a DH. Okay, cool. Well, half of the league doesn't use DH, right? Like they make your pitcher hit.
I thought they did. I thought they started DL in the National League now. Do they not?
Oh, I think you're right. I think they did do that. You're right.
Yeah. But still, your point is still the same. Like I'm not. If I was going to pay, let's say even not defer $70 million a year for a DH. Like for $10 million every year, I could find a DH for 1 year. I mean, like it doesn't make sense. Sure. Like there's definitely a more cost-effective way.
And unless he's gonna, do the Cal Ripken Jr. thing where he changes positions, I Man, that's a lot of money for a DH.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy, man. But the conspiracy theorist to me, he's on fire right now. I'm like, this guy got 2 surgeries already in his short career already. You pay him that? Why are you doing that?
Yeah. Oh, imagine he gets hurt one of these years.
Don't tell me it's to win a World Series, because that can't be the only impetus. Because if he's a wounded duck out there, it's like, how does he help you win a World Series? You put a lot of money. How much of the salary for the team? Maybe upwards of 75% of the salary is going toward one person who's injured.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
something right with this. I don't understand.
I think this is driving ticket sales is one of the bigger things. But I mean, where it helps them try and win is you're guessing he's going to come back and be functional, right? Like, he may not be the elite player he was. No, I get what you're saying, but he may not be the elite player he was. But if he's still above average, you're only paying him $2 million, right? So you can put players around him.
Yeah. My favorite thing's going to be when he gets hurt. When he gets hurt for a whole year and then they win the whole thing without him. That's going to be like the what are we really paying for moment? If they manage that.
So the only thing. So if you want to go conspiracy theory, he better have something in there that if something happens to him, they still have to pay like his family all that money. Because otherwise, that seems like it could be like a government. You got in a car wreck kind of thing.
Oh my goodness! If he passes away, the minute he retires, if he passes away, like we all know,
right? Like, I feel like that's not an accident.
Yeah. And her brought up Bobby Bonilla. It's like, that's a very painful subject.
Yes.
For New York sports fans, period, because it's like, this guy's still getting paid, and he was bumming it out the last couple of years of his active career.
Well, but everybody that has a long contract bums it out at the end of their career. Like, that's
not like this, and he wasn't that good. Let's just cut right to it, man. Let's not mess around. He wasn't that good.
I mean, I'm not mad at what he did, though. He's like, hey, let me just stretch this out forever.
Yes.
Like, I'm not mad at that.
Somebody agreed to him stretching it out forever, though. You understand what I'm saying? Somebody agreed to that. It was a bad idea. He wasn't that good. Now, Ohtani's better than him, I'm sure, but my God.
Well, that was an accounting thing, though, because they could have had it where they just paid him a chunk at the end, and then they agreed to do it $1 million a year for ever. But
I mean, to the Mets. So let's go ahead.
Because he was just gonna. I mean, they were gonna give him the money regardless. They just got to split it up over a bunch of years instead of a chunk at once. So I mean, it's not like it's that big of a deal. They were still gonna lose that money.
When Ohtani's getting paid, when he's not playing, I think Bonilla's still probably going to be getting paid as well.
Yeah.
Think about that one for a minute. Think about that.
All right, let's talk about this ridiculous in-season tournament. So for me, this is terrible, right? They're going to hang a banner, right? The Lakers going to hang a banner. This is hilarious to me. But I understand, for the soccer fans out there, I understand that soccer has done this forever, right? That they do in-season cups and tournaments and whatever. Sure. But I remember a time in the NBA when like players came because they wanted to play basketball and they tried hard every day, right? They didn't need like weird gimmicky things to get them to show up. So, and sure, you can call me old, whatever, I guess. But I feel like they're making a lot of money to, I don't know, play the games they already have. So, maybe show up and play those games and don't need some weird gimmicky stuff.
Yeah. This was a weird one. So I had to read more about it because there just seemed like a lot of confusion. So all the games except for the championship game actually still count towards their regular season. So they somehow just did a scheduling clerk to do that. And there was some money involved. The winners got $500,000, which is probably great for, LeBron probably didn't even notice that money. AD doesn't notice that money. It would be the bench players. And I think for a team like the Pacers, it was good just for a team maybe, to play in like more of a championship atmosphere.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm like, and I didn't even think about the soccer comparison, but the soccer comparison just seems like more tradition, and it's the Champions League, like that's like a title worth winning versus the in-season tournament that we made up that started a week after the regular season. So you haven't even gotten your team together. You know, some people like Dame and Harden literally just got there. And now we're going into this tournament. And it seemed like it really was an excuse to have different courts out there. And, you know, they said, LeBron, you're never going to win another championship. So go win the in-season tournament.
That's right.
I hope Rod isn't listening just yet.
You can say you won something Jordan didn't.
Yes. Yes. So somebody actually posted, does this affect the GOAT debate? I'm like, a made-up tournament affect the GOAT debate?
It doesn't affect it for me because it's not a factor. It's kind of like
that's what I said. I was like, you guys are trying hard.
It changes nothing because it's not. It doesn't change anything. They're not the GOAT, and this does not do anything. But it convinces us even further that he needs to have little extras to feel good about himself. MJ went out there and just dominated, but he got to have these little extra. Oh man, it's just so embarrassing, man. It's like a trophy for a real trophy. Like we in the world of just trophy as it is. Everybody's getting a trophy for just showing up. Nobody's winning. Nobody's fighting. Nobody's gutting it out. Nobody understands struggle and victory. You out here celebrating, popping bottles.
So that's the thing that's the funniest to me, right?
Are you
So
kidding?
you do this thing to, you know, maybe get some of the load management out early, right? And it's like, okay, I mean, that's cool. I get what you're trying to do with that, I suppose. But at the same time, you got the players that are like, oh yeah, and it's like, man, you want a cookie for doing your job? Like, it's what I hired you to do.
I don't understand. The only good part about this is that those two-way players that don't make that much money, and we've seen a lot of those, especially late in the season, they'll show up and they get these two-way deals.
Yep.
They paid, I guess, some of the two-way guys from the Lakers $500K and the Pacers $200K. I mean, that's good because they probably wouldn't make that much. Normally, the guys that are not in the tournament, that are two-way players, they going home with a way less take home than that. So that part of it is good, but I don't know about that. Now we're gonna praise AD because he came out with 41 points and 20 rebounds and 4 blocks. Yeah. So now he's returned. Now I'm like, we watched him every single year. Matter of fact, since the Pelicans, we watched him every single year, and this right here is what we call an anomaly. It's an outlier.
No, it's not.
It's every day. Don't get happy. Pop bottles all you want and pour champagne and douse yourself with champagne. It's not going to change anything because a few games in, the man going to be on the sidelines.
Exactly.
And everybody's going to be cursing his very name.
No, that's the thing. It's like,
because he's hurt again. This is ridiculous, bro.
No, I'm with you. And that's the thing is you're looking at it. It's like, no, he's not what you thought he was going to be. He's still never going to be that head guy. And it's early in the season.
Don't tell Lakers fans that, though.
I know.
I don't know.
He's not that guy. He's not that guy.
If you post he's not that guy on Twitter, you will get personally attacked. Like,
no. It is hilarious every time.
Matter of fact, I'm going to do it today.
Yeah. No,
I agree with you. There's a difference between star and superstar. You know, he's got the star talent. I agree with that. But he's not a superstar. He's not the guy to carry your team by himself.
You know what? This is a spot for me. This is a sore spot for me because this reminds me of an NFL team that we know very, very well. And they put themselves in a championship before preseason even starts. And they make themselves out to be the greatest team on the earth. And then they go out here and they don't prove that. And we got all these excuses for why it happens. And it happens every single year. The Lakers remind me of this. Because we always hear about LeBron and what's going to happen with AD and his team. And they get rid of players, add new players in to come in to hopefully be shooters, help them out at the three and that kind of stuff, and it never ever pans out. They always come up short. So it feels bad. That ain't the word I want, but I can't think of the word right now. But it ticks me off that you're having a celebration for mediocrity. Okay, you got to the tournament, which is like a joke in most people's minds anyway, and now you can be out here celebrating like you won a championship. This is like almost like, so you know what? I know I ain't gonna have a real championship, so we'll go ahead and have this one and enjoy this. It's like that's what we're doing.
Well, I mean, that's what they have to do because they understand that AD's not that guy, and as soon as the playoffs come around, he's going to be injured, and LeBron can't carry it because he's 80 at this point. Yeah. So, you know,
and I
mean,
don't fault him. He's playing great for that age, but he shouldn't be the guy carrying the team at this point. You know,
no.
Like,
Well, I mean, he can't be week in and week out. Like he can't, he's not capable of being that guy. Because if you watch some of these games, you can see him taking plays off where he doesn't even chase the defense down the field anymore. But I mean, you know, he's just standing there under the basket. And he's like, all right, you guys, you know, handle that end.
Crazy. And this is the blueprint for other sports. I'm kind of concerned when I heard that. I'm like, what?
No,
you gonna do this somewhere else?
I can't see
please
that. This would be one of the few sports where you could kind of like, I guess, work it in the middle. I guess you could in baseball, but I don't, you know.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, the timing of it was bad. And now you read where the players want more incentive, so they're thinking about guaranteeing the winner of the tournament a playoff spot or something to make it even more. And I'm like, I personally I still enjoy basketball, but I don't watch until Christmas Day. So any tournament that happens like before Christmas is really irrelevant. Half those guys are still playing them their way into shape. You know, half the team. Like I always look at the Bucks, who I kind of root for right now. Dame Lillard, they're still working him in, and now you're having a tournament, and now you might want it to guarantee something at the end of the year. Imagine the Lakers winning this tournament. LeBron gets hurt; he's out for the rest of the year, and they have a sub 500 record. But now we're like, hey, we're guaranteeing you a playoff spot because you won the tournament that started a week after the season started. Like all of this is just a terrible, terrible idea. So,
oh yeah.
Don't get into the NFL. I'm please.
NFL, they couldn't get them to care about the Pro Bowl, so I don't see them caring about some other random thing in the middle.
They took everything that was cool about the Pro Bowl away, though. So
that's exactly right.
So I mean, of course you're
I
not
used to love the Pro Bowl.
Yeah,
I used to love the Pro Bowl.
Awesome.
I watched it religiously, and then they destroyed it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it used to come out and still kind of hit, right? Like it wasn't the intensity necessarily of a normal game, certainly not a playoff game.
It was good enough for me.
But there was still tackling. Like people came out to play. And now it's like two-hand. Well, I mean, now it's flagged. But I mean, even over the last couple of years, you just kind of go up and hug a guy. You're just like, what are we even doing right now?
It's
like, why even play the game? So I get why they were looking at maybe just canceling the Pro Bowl. Now they turned it into this flag football game, which is dumb. But at least they brought back.
I did not watch last year, so I have no idea.
I watched just because I was curious, like, what's this going to look like?
I found something to do that day. No, thank you.
Yeah, I watched it, but you know, I was sitting at a bar in Mexico, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say that I was super focused.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say that I rolled through a bucket of Pacifico at that point anyway. So
I was always bragging about the places he's been. Like, geez.
Yeah, it's kind of demeaning. The
bar was across the street, man. I knew I could drink because I could walk.
Yeah, the idyllic sunsets. Now you're talking about the libations and
hey, I chase sunsets. I legitimately chase sunsets.
It's really disconcerting.
But you know, this what ties into kind of your original point, Pro Bowl wise, in season tournament wise. As the money goes up in all these sports, they're trying to find more ways to incentivize the players to want to play. Right. And that is crazy. When everybody was making $3 million, they were out there in all-star games and in the regular season playing every game. Now they're making $30 million. Yeah. But now they're making $30 million and they're like, you know what? I'll play 2 of the 4 games this week. That's the best I could do. Maybe 3 if I feel like it.
Here's a question for you guys.
Oh, what you got?
We're sitting talking about all this money. We talk about with basketball. Like I was telling you guys, they're closer to a $1 billion contract than anybody is right now. But what would you have done if you can go back in time with the contract, even if it's a football, baseball, it doesn't matter where it is, whatever sport? What would you have done to make sure that what we're seeing right now didn't happen? What would you have done? Would you have capped contract? What would you have done feasibly to make that happen?
The problem is what I suggest is probably like some kind of collusion, but I would not have, like, let's say basketball is an example. I wouldn't have gone with these supermax contracts.
Yeah.
And one of the times when I think it was right after the Cavs won the title and the salary cap bumped and they paid everybody from the Cavs mediocre or not. Like it's like specific times where I would go back and say like, hey, we got to keep this here. You know, the guy who's making 10 and 10 is not a 30 million a year player, you know, and they have to find some way to go back and kind of keep it to where the mediocre players weren't getting paid. Because I think that's where it started. The guys who knew like this might be my last contract. I'm really not that good. Oh, they're paying me 25 million a year for the next 4 years. I'm just going to go sit on the bench and really not contribute anymore. And I think that's kind of where it started. So it's not I know that's probably not answering the question. It's not a specific event, but somewhere along the way, which is bad because I should be on the player side, I guess, the owners needed to get together and say, like, we got to control some of this. You know, like, is LeBron worth 40 million a year? Yeah, because, but, you know, he's bringing butts in the seats. But if nobody is coming to watch you play, here's the cap for you, you know.
Conversely, imagine the just weird shenanigans that would have happened if this kind of money was given to guys like Rodman and Jordan, and, you know, who did a lot of stuff without necessarily getting crazy money, you know, the way it is today. You know, you had a hard time keeping them focused in the game. You know, Jordan would be gambling. Rodman would randomly disappear to Vegas. Like, imagine those guys with this kind of money back then, right? You may have never saw Rodman again.
On booze and women.
Yeah. But you know what? To their credit, those were not guys that missed games, though. You know, I think Michael Jordan has one of those stories.
No, but they might have if they had that kind of cash.
Yeah,
I don't trust Rodman with that kind of money. That's just
no.
He was a different beast, though. Jordan tells the story about him like going out all night and showing up the minute before practice, and Phil trying to run him out of everything. And next thing you know, Jordan's like, "Hey, you got to keep it. You got to tone it down because you know Rodman's still outrunning everybody on the whole court and all the drills and everything." So he was just a different beast. So,
oh yeah,
but I don't know. It's gotten ridiculous. I think not just because of the top, but because of the middle. You know, and there's just too many players you're not getting great production out of. And you look at their contract, you're like, 22 million a year. He's averaging like, you know, 9 and 7.
The ones that are getting ready to break these outstanding records that we just got finished talking about. Those guys are so close to, like, this is that what we want? You don't want that. It's gonna be astronomical.
Yeah.
Well,
I think all of it has been bad though. I mean, even at the top, you give a guy supermax contracts and 2 years later he wants out, and they're like, you make 50 million. Like, you know how many people we have to trade for you to make up to 50 million? You know, like, I love Dame, but when he asked for that trade, I was like, you should have signed that other contract. Like, you should have asked for all that money. And then now they have to give away a whole team just to get you. And now you get over there and it's not the same team. So I don't, you know, the salaries have created all this.
I like to believe it's not hating. I want to believe it's not just us hating on them and everything, but like, why see contract like what Mahomes got? I'm like, ooh. Even if you won a Super Bowl, it's like it's still a lot. I don't know how you compare it and
then the rest of your team.
You won a Super Bowl, but you need $500 million.
I mean, you know, they're a perennial contender though, and they did get a couple of rings. So I mean, I feel like that one is at least kind of justified. Although in this case, you know, speaking of guys that aren't really earning their contract anymore, Draymond, you know, swinging around, punching a guy, ejected for the 3rd time this season already. I
mean, he made it to Christmas.
I know,
what are you doing?
I know.
No stamina.
Yeah, is that what it is? He's like, I'm tired. I'm just gonna punch a guy and go home.
Yeah. I'm starting to. I mean, we talked about it recently about, you know, do players care? They just want to get paid. That kind of stuff says, you know what? You're on the other side of this thing. You want to just get paid. You don't care about this team, and you don't care about the love of the game like you used to do. You were playing in the streets in the parks, shooting hoops and whatnot. Those days are long gone. That's what you're saying. You want to just get paid. That kind of stuff is dumb, man. That dude didn't pull on him enough. He can talk about your mama and sit on a spinning back fist on national TV. Come on, man. This is a joke. He don't care. Sit me down. Find me. I got too much money. Don't matter. That's the message they're sending to us, man. And we go and watch them play.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, only sort of though, because you never know. I mean, at this point, you know, we're going to talk about it for the NFL too. But the refs, you know, they're booting people all the time now too. So, I mean, some of these guys are getting ejected for things that makes no sense.
Yeah, there's a few of those.
So, I mean, I just, man, I would be so mad to go to a game and then you're going to pay a high ticket price to get in anyway.
Yep.
The guys you went to see may be load managing. If they did show up, they may get booted in the first half anyway. It's just kind of
wasn't that Nokic last night got booted, and they're at Chicago, and the Chicago fans are booing because they get kicked out. So to your point, it's like, look, we know the Bulls aren't great. We didn't pay to come see them. We came to see the Nuggets, and you kick out their star player. So to your point, I don't know if you're ready to move into that, but when did the refs, and when did I miss this to where they decided like they have a certain amount of airtime and that they want to be part of the story? You know, like really, you're not really supposed to see them in the game, you know, and now it's like we know their names and their occupations and they're getting out there.
I don't know what's like, you talking about the NFL? Or, that's a whole.
I think NFL and basketball. I think it's getting bad at those.
Yeah,
most of these guys, this is their second job.
Right.
These guys are CEOs, tax managers, attorneys. They college professors, insurance agents. This is referees their second job. So they only have full-time guys in the league, which is I think part of the problem too.
Definitely.
They're kind of part-timers, their attitudes and what they're doing. It kind of bleeds into it. But the in-game violation they've been calling, they've doubled since last year, man.
Yeah. Well,
more than doubled, as a matter of fact.
Like I wouldn't even care. I wouldn't even care if they were consistent about it.
Right.
Right. I mean, if you're going to call a penalty, but you call it the same way, cool. You adjust the gameplay to make that work. Right. But when Satoni offsides, no doubt. Offsides. No, there's no debate there. Like you see the side shot of it. You can't see the football like that. That's supposed to be a flag. Where I get why they're mad is he did that 6 other times during the game. There was no warning. There's no flag there. Right. So now when it's going to greatly impact the game, they throw the flag. Now, should they have thrown the flag? Of course, he was offsides. Right. And they even came out and said that being offensive offsides is going to be a point of emphasis this year, which fair enough. But really the spirit of that was because of the tush push play, right? Is some of those offensive linemen were head up over the ball, which gives you a little bit of an advantage because you're already pushing forward. So they wanted them to come back off the line a little bit to make that, make sense. And so of the 11 offensive offsides that they've called this year, 9 of them were in a QB sneak scenario, right? Only 3 of them have gone to a receiver. So, and there was only 1 of those calls all of last season, right? So, I mean, is there an emphasis? Sure, but it's not on the receivers. Now, if he did this multiple times during the game, the fact that he didn't get a warning prior to it, and then they throw the flag, now they're not obligated to give a warning. So to be fair, like they're not obligated to, but it just seems weird that you wouldn't have tossed that flag at any other point during this game. So I guess the biggest thing for me is the inconsistency of the calls. Like if you call them all the same, I'm with it, right? But let's just call them all the same. And to Mr. Yu's point, at this point, they need to be full-time guys so that we get consistent play. So that we know exactly what we're supposed to see out of them week in and week out. And if we're going to know their name all the time anyway, they might as well just be employees.
Yeah.
I don't know how we get
the money is there. So I don't get that at all. And now you're talking about somebody who has a bigger impact than some of the offensive or defensive players. Like they're one of the few people on the field the entire time. So now your impact on the game is too great. And then, like you said, to your other point, because it happens a lot in basketball too as well, they officiate the game one way for like 3 quarters or whatever, and then that fourth, it's like, well, this is now when we're going to tighten up. We're going to do this. Like it just can't. However you call it in the first needs to be in the fourth. So, like you said, so everybody can adjust. Your gameplay adjusts. Basketball, if it's a physical game or if they're letting stuff go, it just there is no consistency whatsoever. So
and in most leagues, the playoffs are officiated completely different, right? So things that are fouls all year aren't fouls in the play. Like the NBA is a perfect example of this. Harden would probably have a couple of rings if it was officiated the same way in the playoffs as it is during the regular season, because he'd go to the free throw line 5,000 times a game, and then he never makes it to the free throw line in the in the playoffs, despite the fact that he's still getting hit the same amount, and he does his creative ways to draw fouls.
Right.
The NFL does the same thing. Like in the playoffs, you see much more physical play, especially as receivers going down the field in the playoffs than you do during the season. There's a ton of defensive pass interference during the regular season that kind of don't get called the same way as soon as you hit postseason play.
Right.
This is a slippery slope just to start with, period. Just for a lot of reasons. I was thinking about that Giants and Bills game. We lost that game because of officiating.
Sure.
When they called that roughing the pass against Okereke. It wasn't that. And these guys they've been injecting themselves so much into the game now. It's like the Hurd's point about they're being in the background. They're not now. They're right out front, and they almost take over the game. It's like, that's not good. And then you add on top of that the legalized sports betting angle. People are starting to wonder about the validity of calls now. It's like, how do you get consistency?
Yeah.
You got, I mean, if I look at the guy, what's his name, Sean Hockley, I know consistently what he's going to do. He's going to suck consistently. I know that part of it.
Right.
I'm saying all the other guys, like, you expect that they're consistent in what they do, but it's like you got different teams, you got different officiating crews and whatnot, and they all do something different. You never know what you're going to get with him. With Hockley, I know what I'm going to get because he's done it so many times, and he's been way consistent in the negative way. I'm saying, I don't know how you get that. If they're full time, did that change how they officiate? Is there any kind of reprimand for them? Even though we can't see it, and we want to see them vilified and whatnot, but we don't see what happens with them when they blow calls. They blow calls that people, it's like massive uproar. It's like, wow, you actually cause your team to not go into the playoffs or not go to the Super Bowl or whatever it is.
Sure. What
happens with them? We can't even tell, and that makes it even worse because we can't see what you get. If a coach messes up, we can actually see what's going to happen. Right. He gets on that hot seat, he gets booted. We can see it. With the officiating crew, we can't see what happens. We don't know if they got replaced. We don't know their names really anyway. We know they got replaced. We don't know if they're getting reprimanded, they're getting fined. We don't know anything. We in it's private, but I think maybe it helped to be more public. See what they're doing. What are you doing? What happens when a referee blows the call? What are you doing? It's like almost like school. Are they getting an F grade? Or they had to do the previous year, do it over again? Are they going to summer school? We don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. I think if it's really egregious, the biggest thing is they lose a postseason spot. And I think that seems to be the only real reprimand. To your point, it's not. Yeah.
They got they're CEOs and attorneys by trade. Yeah. I don't think they're hurting for money. So that makes it even worse. That's all they get.
Yeah. I'm saying, I agree with you. I just think that's all it is. I think that's really all that. I'm sorry, Bogo.
Well, no, it's all you can do because they're a private contractor. They're not a full-time employee. So really all you can do is be like, yeah, try and do better. But
but if you don't, you still got a job.
Yeah, because it's not like there's a ton of people doing it either, right? Yeah. Like you're seeing the same people out there.
Wait a minute. And it is too bad. Unionized? Are they unionized? Are they unionized?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Part-timers don't normally get union benefits, and they part-timers for real. They're not full-time workers, right?
No, they're definitely not. Yeah, I mean, they all have careers outside of it. Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it's too bad about Sean Hockley because I always liked his dad. Like Ed was always great.
His dad. His dad was awesome.
Yeah, he was.
Plus, he was hilarious to watch, right? Because he'd be out running like half of the players, and then just cannons for arms.
Man, dude, he was. I think he liked it first. No, he was like, "Hey, working out."
He was flexing a little bit. Don't get it wrong. He was like,
okay, but I'll be honest. If I worked out like that, like you guys will see me in a tank top on the show.
I mean, no, I mean it's funny because when you think back to that era of refs, right? You had Hockley and you had Serator, and I mean you knew who their names were, but it's because they were reffing in big moments, and they weren't like they were getting most of those calls right.
Yeah,
right. Like you're looking at
the story.
Yeah, right. Like they kept the story moving along, but they weren't a footnote in the story. You're just like, oh, okay, that was a penalty. Like You
I
know?
will also say on that point, I think the more they have instant replay out there, the less focused some of these guys are because they're like, somebody will fix it if I'm not 100% right.
Man,
But then they give you limited challenges in NFL, so it's like even in NBA, limited challenges. So it's like, all right, which one is it? Are you guys going to let that play out because you think somebody else is going to fix it, or are you going to try and get it right the first time? And I honestly feel like half the time they're like, somebody else will fix it, so I'm just not as worried about it. And I did have to mention this just because we were talking about refs. Chris Paul and Scott Foster, like, how do you let this go for years where one ref has something against one player? Like, I'll never understand.
That's just neglect, man.
Yeah.
Well, and how do you keep scheduling for the same team? Like I get the commissioner saying, "Hey, these guys are professionals; they need to do their job." Sure, but they've demonstrated they can't.
Yeah.
So maybe just don't have him on those games. Like you got other refs, you got a bunch of other games. I think it'll be all right.
Personal, man. It's like you just creating drama, man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like when you lose 13, 14 games in a row with one guy referee, like that's just, I mean, come on, guys. You know, if we were doing shows and there was two people who didn't get together, you'd schedule them on different shows. Like every other part of the world could do. If you have two people in the building, you put one guy on one side, one guy's in a different department. Like you don't end up just putting them together. You know, like, hey, every Friday.
I don't know. If you're looking for ratings, you might put them on the same show.
True. That's a good point.
You put them on either side, and I just sit here with my popcorn and be like, all right, go.
True.
Wow.
But it is crazy. Refs have become too front and center, I think, in all sports.
Yeah, the NFL players are on. They're ticked off, man. They had a survey. I think 70% of them said that they ranked officiating around a 4 or 5. I'm like, I know they're private, but what do you do with that?
Yeah,
if more than half of the league despises what you've been doing.
Yeah,
is there any recourse for them to change anything?
No,
or just
no.
And there is
a point in what you said earlier, Mr. U, is the gambling aspect of it. You know, because you read message boards, and when people are gambling, they don't only like just look at the teams; they look at who's actually refereeing the game and what kind of game they're going to get. And so, I mean, the big NBA involved a ref.
Was the guy from the NBA the official
that got caught? Yeah,
his name. Yeah, man, that was like that kind of went away real smooth.
It did.
I forgot all about that stuff. Now we in here in legalized sports betting world. I'm like, wow.
But you got to think if you've got players making 15, 20 million and a ref making whatever they're making, which one are you going to approach with some money to try and to make the game go the way you want it to go? So,
fair enough. Well, and speaking of inconsistency, here's so DeVito's the future. But
this is his show, so he's gonna go take a shot. See, I don't do people like that, man.
Yeah. So now that this has happened, I believe Mr. U has been asked about it like every moment that someone's had a chance since Monday night.
Why I put this up is the talking about the inconsistency of the refs, right? How did he not get a roughing the passer against him when he gets lit up in a slide?
Yeah.
Right? Like he scrambles, he slides, and then there's 2 steps before the guy, and he gets his head out of the way. I'll give him that. But he should have dove all the way over the top of him at that point.
Right.
So
I am not understanding that one.
No flag at all. Right?
I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about that. I'm like,
that's one that every big name quarterback gets a flag, and he hadn't even made contact yet. Like as soon as he did this, they're like, boom.
Yeah. Oh, and contrast that with the one that with the Mahomes got in the same game that nobody's talking about, where he still has both feet in bounds and he gets lit up, and they called the roughing the passer. He didn't get out of bounds quick enough, and the guy catch him, which actually led to everything else that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But you can just see, like to your point with inconsistency, DeVito doesn't get that call on the slide. Mahomes gets that call while he's running. And even the other official that comes on is like, I mean, both feet are in bounds. He didn't get out of bounds. Like, what are you supposed to do in that play? So
I mean, you have to hit him, right? Because he could have broke inside. Like,
and get a couple more yards. Yeah. So to your point, the DeVito not getting that call. Yeah,
it's weird. To answer Nick's question, the short answer, Nick, is no. He's not the future, but there's a longer answer. Why I think that, but the short answer is no. So we're gonna have fun with this right here, chicken cutlets and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
I grew up around them guys. I grew up around those guys, man. I had to stay with them after a while because a lot of them were connected. So I couldn't stay around them too much. Once I figured that out, I said, I can't hang with these guys. They into some organized business that I can't be a part of. But I know about all this. But he's not the future, though. He's not no, not at all.
All right. So that because we're just making people mad today, what if at this point Dak wins because no other starting quarterback can stay in the league? MVP, right? We got the MVP race, and Herbert goes down. Now he wasn't in the conversation, so I'm not trying to say that. But when you look at the starting quarterbacks that have played the entire season, man, like there's not
many left.
There's not many left, right? Like there's not a lot of options for this MVP unless you're going to finally give it to somebody that's not a quarterback. I don't see that happening.
Yeah. I would love McCaffrey or Hill to get into the conversation, but like I went and looked up the odds this morning, and it goes Dak, Purdy, Lamar, and then inexplicably Jalen Hurts is still on this list. Which I love Jalen, but like It's not been an MVP year. But that kind of goes to your point, like they want to give it to a quarterback. They might as well call it the quarterback award. Like I don't even.
It basically is, right?
Yeah.
It basically is, because I think the last non-quarterback to win it was Sean Alexander in 2005, right?
My boy.
Yeah.
So like it's not like they ever really give it to anybody else anyway.
Right.
It's a quarterback award. Let's be honest. Yeah, but at this point, if you're looking at the health of a quarterback and the stats to go along with it, the only people that are really in that conversation is probably Dak. You got Purdy, statistically, right? You got Tua, and you would have had Stroud.
He's at 8.
Yeah.
Right. So now
Hurts and Tua being on that list was because they were 4 and 5 on the list I read. And
AP, I guess also forgot about that.
He's they have like the top 8 candidates like quarterbacks, and Tua's at the back end of that one back there. I think it's between Dak and Purdy, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to end up at.
If Dak keeps doing what he's doing, and he's not doing it by himself clearly, but if he keeps doing what he's doing, I think he'd be a slight favorite over Purdy. But then at the same time, if they play each other based on a head-to-head situation, I don't know if that affects into the voting or not, but if it does,
Well, I think the biggest thing that helps Dak here is there are guys on the Niners that have their own case to be the MVP. So it's hard to win the MVP if there's other people on your team in the conversation for MVP. I think that helps Dak a ton. I think that's where it hurts Tua and it hurts Purdy, because Tua in that conversation has Hill, who is in the conversation, right? Yeah. Then you have Purdy, who has CMC in that conversation, and Debo. Right?
Yep.
So I think
you made an excellent point about him. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah.
No. So it just kind of it sort of muddies the water there. Whereas Dak, obviously nobody's doing this by themselves, right? Like you can't win an MVP by yourself. You have to amass some wins during the season.
Sure.
It ain't no like 4-win team getting MVP votes. So, but that being said, he doesn't have those cast members with him that are, kind of propelling the story forward the way that a CMC or a Debo or a Tyreek Hill, are helping those other quarterbacks. So as it sits, and plus, do you really think they're going to make it the rest of the season and not get hurt? Like Dak may literally be the only option that doesn't get hurt.
I don't know that part. That's hard to say. But between Dak and Purdy, the reason why I think Dak has a slight edge is because Dak is throwing more, has more touchdowns, but he has better rush numbers than Purdy himself. So he's rushing with more yards. I've got the number, but he rushes more yards than Purdy does. Purdy throws less. He just has more yards per when he is throwing. But they got a running game going consistently than the Cowboys do. So I feel like so by individual accomplishments, that's going to get the edge in this situation right here. But it's a slight edge. It pains me to say so because I don't care nothing for the team or the people in it. You know what I'm saying? But this is a clear case. It looks like he's the MVP favorite right now.
I think so too.
Something has to happen for him to
to lose it. Yeah, his best case for it was how the Dolphins looked when he wasn't out there. Now I told Raj that was his only silver lining for Monday, and then like you said with McCaffrey being an MVP choice, the way I think that is going to take votes away from Purdy. So this looks like the year Dak will probably win it. And I like the site I was reading had Lamar Jackson at number 3. So that's an interesting pick to see.
I found him at 6.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, I can definitely see Lamar in that conversation. I had him at like 5th, but even still, I mean, he's in and around there. But again, based on history, does Purdy make it through the season? Does Tua make it through the season? Who knows? Tua historically doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Purdy, we don't know. But I mean, so all of a sudden, every other big name that potentially was going to be there is either hurt or just not having a great season, right? Like Josh Allen's not exactly tearing it up out there. So, I mean, it's interesting because even if Dak wins this one, there's going to be so much hate towards it. They're like, oh, but he didn't beat anybody because everybody was hurt, right? Like you can already see this narrative coming through.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Unless he wins the Super Bowl, there's no we're always gonna have something to say. So that's basically what's gonna happen. Especially if he wins MVP and they don't do well in the playoffs, then it's gonna be even worse for him. So,
I don't know if I want to be in a world where he has a Super Bowl ring. While I don't know if I want to be in a place like this.
Yeah, we might not hear from Mr. U for a while, huh?
Yeah, right.
Because people who don't talk to me, Cowboys fans, and you know how they act, you know how they are. You know why people hate them so much. I live around these people. I do work around. I'm in business with. I can't escape these people. It's like I have to hit them. We finally did it. We them boys. I'm like, them boys. It took you 27 years. Shut up, fool. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you can't beat them boys anymore. You got to be a man at this point, right? I can't even win a car.
You win one every 27 years? That we gonna be cheering for? Every 27 years we won Super Bowl. Really? There's more teams in the league than 20. Come on. I mean, I don't want to see that. So I'm rooting against them actively. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to hear that. I really don't. Them guys are they're unbearable, man. They're horrible, man. I don't want no parts of that. So.
Oh man. Well, and of course we're running out of time, so we're not going to be able to hit the Belichick. I don't know if you saw the notice, but it got leaked that he's done after the season. Not that that's a shock to anybody, really, but we will definitely pick that up next Wednesday. Be sure to stay tuned for the next show right here on Roku. Let everybody know how to find you guys.
All right,
on Twitter, X, we're at Rod. I'm sorry, my bad. at Raj Herb, and then on our YouTube channel, you can find us under This Is Tube, or just search the Herb and Rod Podcast.
Yeah, we're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Twitter. At They Call Me Mr. U. On Facebook, it's TCM Mr. U, but you can find us anywhere. Great show, brother. Thank you for inviting us again.
Definitely.
Yeah, of course. I love this group every morning. And of course, if you like this one, be sure to check us out on YouTube. You can see us on any of our stations. Mine is at Football-Talk. And we get together every Monday at this same time. And tons of fun. Love hanging out with you guys. And again, if you're watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.